What's up, guys? I'm Steven with Vape and Smoke in Angola, and today we're going to be doing a Did You See This review on all three Fireluke tanks. And I've been very excited to do this review for a while. The Fireluke tank has become one of my favorite sub-ohm tanks in a long time. In my book, it beats the Crown 3, it beats the Cleto and the Cleto 120, it beats the Hercules 3. If you can name a flavor tank that people go for, it beats it, and I've used it. The Fireluke is just easy to use, the coil life is ridiculous, and the flavor is extraordinary. On top of, you don't really sacrifice a whole lot of cloud production for it, so that's a really cool thing, at least in my book. So they have the original Fireluke, they have the Fireluke Mesh, and then they have the Mesh Pro. So we're going to talk with the original Fireluke first. That is on top of my Woody box. And the original Fireluke, as you can see, it's got the bubble glass. It holds, I think, between 5 and 6 mils, somewhere right around there. This is the resin edition, and you're going to unscrew the cap to fill this one, and then you've got two big old kidney bean shapes right there to fill your juice. Very easy fill. A lot of people don't like to unscrew, but I do like the way that the unscrews seal, even though it takes a little bit more time. I do prefer it. Airflow on this is quite nice. You get a big old chunky airflow on both sides. And then the coils that they come with are a little bit weird. So it comes with one coil, and that is the, I don't remember what they call it, but it's got 3 coils inside of it. It's rated to like 130, 140 watts. Decent flavor. This one really aims for the cloud. It's, in my opinion, you can compare it a lot to the Prince, where Prince doesn't give you the best flavor, but it gives you really good cloud. It gives you good juice consumption or juice holding, whatever you want to say. And it's just an efficient tank for that, for clouds. It's in a smaller, pretty fashion. This is kind of up that alley with that 3-hole coil. Now, the other coil that it comes with is not actually a coil at all. It's a rebuildable deck. And that's what I have in this. I ran through the first coil, got me a week, maybe a week and a half, and then I put in the rebuildable, and I actually really like it. Very few times will you ever hear me say that I like an RTA or an RDTA, and very, very few of those times will it actually be a tank that's an RDTA. Traditionally speaking, like the Kylin, I love the Limitless iJoy RDTA 5, stuff like that I'm a pretty big fan of. But this being a tank, and that's what it's designed for, coming with a rebuild and being amazing, top 3 in my book, is a big deal. Very easy to build on. I've got dual fuse Claptons in here right now. It's coming out at a 0.13 at 60 watts. So we're going to head off of this, and then we'll move on to the next one. Decent cloud production for sure for 60 watts. And you get some pretty nice flavor. I mean, it's an RDTA. Nothing crazy going on, but RDTAs, they're going to give you good flavor. That's just in their nature. Overall, I really like the tank. I really do. I think it looks pretty. I think it operates quite well. I'm a fan of the airflow. Just overall, good tank. Solid tank for sure. And then we move on to the Fireluke Mesh. Now, I am a very big fan of the Mesh. This is what made me a fan of Freemax and of Fireluke. This is the tank, in my opinion, that changed the game. They put those mesh coils out, and I mean, there's no other sub-ohm device that I can think of off the top of my head that competes when it comes to flavor or cloud efficiency, let alone both. They just nail it. And then the coil expectancy, like I said, I mean, I'm a heavy vapor. I work at a vape shop, of course, so I vape a lot, and for me to get 3 weeks to a month out of a coil is, I mean, unless I built it, that's unheard of. And it does it. A mesh coil, I mean, they nail it. This is on my Osmosis Gold Plaque. We're running at a 60 watts again. This is a 0.14 mesh coil. We'll hit off of this one. Now, you can probably hear the airflow difference. I don't know if you can or not, but this airflow is much, much, much tighter than its counterpart right there. I mean, you can just see the size difference alone. Much tighter draw, but you don't lose a lot of air. Like it's not ridiculous amounts. You're just not inhaling a lot. If I was actually running this and not doing a review on it, I would probably have the airflow cut down a little bit, about halfway. That's a much better hit. But this one I keep always all the way open, and that's because the airflow that it brings in, it's a little bit loud, a little bit high pitched, but it's really, really good. Like, I was very impressed. It's not, don't let the size fool you. You get good air, you get good airflow. The downside with this tank, and this is what most people are going to complain about generally speaking, is that it only holds between 2 and 3 mils. So you do find yourself filling it quite a lot throughout the day. Again, you have got the unscrew fill, and then you've got your 2 kidney beans again on the sides. Very easy to fill again. I do, again, prefer this method just because of the way it seals. You don't really have any leaking issues, or at least very minimal in comparison to something that uses like a swing door or something like that. So I do prefer this method, but 60 watts, really good flavor, and I mean really good cloud production, so we will take that. And then the new Fireluke. This is not actually, it's not called the Fireluke, it's called the Freemax Mesh Pro. They didn't use the Fireluke name in this. I don't know if that was on purpose or why it was not used, because it's the same concept, it's made by the same company, but they didn't use it, so this is just the Freemax Mesh Pro. Now, you will probably notice right off the bat when I held this up that it looks very similar to the first one that we talked about. And they do look quite similar. The differences right off the bat that you're going to notice are the glass, probably, where this one's more of a fishbowl and this one's more of a kind of like a baby Prince, I guess, where it does bulge out but not quite as bulbous. It does still hold between 5 and 6 mils. The biggest differences on the two is the one comes with the dual 3-hole that we talked about and the rebuildable. The new one, the Mesh Pro, of course, hence the name, comes with a double barrel mesh, which is what's in it, and it comes with a single barrel mesh. Now, I did confirm that the mesh coils from the new one can fit in the old bubble glass Fireluke. I didn't run it, I haven't ran it with the mesh coil, so I don't know how it performs, but it does thread in and it fits in just fine. So you could, if you are kind of curious about this, but you're not quite sure if you want to pull the trigger, you could go out and get the mesh coil if you do already have the older tank. So you could try it. Now, take that with a grain of salt because they do fit. But the biggest thing that you'll notice on this is the airflow. They do look quite similar, but you can hear the difference. This one, it's like wider, but narrower at the same time. I don't know how to describe that. About the same airflow, maybe a little bit tighter draw, but it feels airier because of the way it's shaped. I prefer this airflow over this airflow. The other cool thing that they did, of course you notice that both of these are resin and they're both purple. You can kind of see the differences that they made. This one's kind of square, kind of flat. This one is rather rounded and a little bit more modernized shape. It matches the glass a little bit better in my opinion. And then the other cool thing that they did with that is the way you fill it, you don't actually unscrew it. What you rather do is just flick it. And you've got your kidney shape right there. Now, I do really like this design. A few tanks have done it, like the, just to name, the one off the top of my head is the, oh man, I don't remember the name now. It comes on the Mojo. It's the U-Force tank, the Vupu U-Force. It slides open like that, and a shout out, I think I've already talked about this, but the Mojo with the U-Force tank can take the mesh coils for the Fireluke, so you could do that as well. But it does open like that, and like I said before, you know, I generally prefer these just because they seal a little bit better. But I haven't had any leaking issues with any of them that rock open, slide, I guess. The ones that swing open, I have had a few issues. And the biggest reason behind that is that this little white thing right here, this little seal, when it swings open, it can get caught, and there's a lot of surface area for juice to soak up into that, and it kind of expands and it doesn't quite fit. When you slide it, you don't really have those issues just because you got a hole that's really all you can access. So that's kind of a cool design. I do really like it. This one is the dual mesh coil that we talked about before. Now this one's a little bit different as well. This one is Kanthal 0.2 rated to between 60 and 90 watts. I mean, I don't necessarily think I agree with that wattage rating. I think that's their best recommendation. They didn't put any other wattage on it, so I could be wrong. But I mean, I'm running this at 70 watts on the Snow Wolf 200 WR. And at 70 watts, it's really starting to wake up. So I think they're saying 60 to 90 is their recommended best, not what the coil can handle. I would still recommend to keep it between the 60 and 90 watts probably, but just know that it probably could go higher for a few hits if you needed it to. So 70 watts, we've talked enough about this. Let's blow some clouds with this one. I think we can pretty fairly agree that this one by far has the most cloud production. I would also say that it really gives this one a run for its money when it comes to flavor. That dual coil, I'm a fan of. From the reviews that I read on it and the reviews that I've watched on it, a lot of people said that they weren't fans. I haven't tried the single coil in it yet because this one hasn't burned out, so I haven't swapped it. And it doesn't come with a triple mesh coil that is available. I haven't tried that one yet either, but I've heard that the triple mesh is the best, and actually the dual mesh is the worst. So if I'm getting this kind of flavor and cloud production on the dual, you and I can only dream what the triple coil is going to give us, and I'm super, super excited for that. So this is the Mesh Pro, this is the Fireluke Mesh, and that is the original Fireluke. Now I would rate them pretty much in that way, this one being number 3, this one being a contender for number 2, but this one just beats it out for a couple of reasons. The first one, the juice capacity is much larger in this, between 5 and 6 mils rather than between 2 and 3. The second one is it is a lot easier to fill this when, I wouldn't say while you're driving, because I would never recommend that, but let's say you're out and about doing something, that's much easier, much faster to do that one-handed if you have to. And then it beats it out with the airflow, and it's a really close contender for flavor. I think this one beats it just because you get a little bit of a warmer vape, you can run it a little bit higher, and because of that I think it wins. I was not expecting that when I sat down to make this video. I did not think it was going to win, but I think it has. I think this is the top dog right here. And the other one that's going to set it above the edge is, of course, you can get the single mesh coil like we talked about. Of course, you can get the dual mesh coil. That's the one that I have. Of course, you can get the triple yes, the triple mesh coil. And those are all made in Kanthal. You can also get a single mesh coil made in stainless steel if you want to run it on temperature control. And then you can get all of the original coils. They make just the regular coils if mesh just isn't your thing. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but they do offer it. So that's really cool. With that being said, and like we talked about before, that these mesh coils fit in this tank, I would assume, I haven't tried, but I would assume that the rebuildable will fit in this tank. If that's the case, then you're also going to have a rebuild option, which is very cool. Overall, I love the tank. I mean, it's diverse, it's unique. The mesh coil situation with the dual mesh, I mean, I'm really liking it. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I do, and I really, really do. I think it's quite pretty too. I mean, I'm a little bit more partial to purple than probably should be, but I think it just looks nice with that resin. So there you go, guys. All 3 Firelukes were spoken of. You saw the cloud production. The flavor production is very close in these, but I think this one just edges it out, probably by about the size of the tanks, to be completely honest, is about the way it won. And this one I really do like because you do have that rebuild option. As a tank, I probably wouldn't run it, but as an RDTA, I would definitely run it, as you're seeing me do. I do really, really like it as an RDTA. So, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, I am vaping the Melon Twist by the Lemon Twist series. This is called Honeydew Melon Chew. I'm actually a bigger fan of this than I thought it was going to be too. It's a honeydew, watermelon, kind of melon pop in your mouth scenario going on there, and I really like it. It's quite sweet, quite bright, good summer flavor. So that's all she wrote, guys. I'm going to leave it with this. I'm Steven with Vape and Smoke in Angola. Did you see this?